The Sweet Valley High series was a very important part of growing up for so many women. It was the first teen novel to crack the New York Times bestsellers list. If you were a young adult in the late 1980s or the early 2000s, it's more likely you would have come across creator Francine Pascal's Sweet Valley High. The book was centered around the 16-year-old identical twins Elizabeth and Jessica Wakefield in a suburban town called Sweet Valley. They both have long sun-streaked blonde hair, sparkling blue-green eyes, the color of the Pacific Ocean, and a dimple in their left cheek. They both had a 5'6" athletic frame. This basic description of the girls ended up being canon in the books and is mentioned in pretty much every single book thereafter. As mentioned, Francine Pascal is the creator of the Sweet Valley universe. She originally had planned for this to be a TV show, however, when that didn't eventuate, she turned it into a young adult series. Now, Francine Pascal never wrote the books for Sweet Valley High. Instead, she used ghostwriters to bring her vision to life. One such ghostwriter, Amy Boesky, happens to be a Harvard University graduate and even pursued English literature at Oxford University. In an interview, Amy explained that writing for the Sweet Valley High series was a form of escapism for her. Amy first met Francine Pascal at a friend of her father's dinner party, who also happened to be a children's book author. Next thing you know, being at the right time and place gave her the opportunity to write for the series, which was already a best-selling hit at the time. Amy was already working for a publishing company, figuring out what she wanted to do with the rest of her life, and only thought of writing for the popular series as a short-term thing. At the time, Amy hadn't even heard of the series, and she had just completed a doctorate in 17th century English literature. What a geek! Amy grew up reading Nancy Drew novels, so she understood the concept of ghostwriting. Amy described the process of becoming a writer for the series in an interview recently. She had to try out for the job by preparing a chapter outline and then writing an entire chapter. She very quickly found herself relating to the characters of Jessica and Elizabeth from her own childhood experiences at being in school. She discovered the voices of these girls and then the characters around them as well. Amy had written 50 books for the popular series, starting from Rags to Riches, which is book number 16. She would receive a plot outline from Francine Pascal, which was roughly around 8 to 9 pages per novel. Amy would then be required to devise a subplot that also supported the next book that was to follow in the series. Amy's favourite plots always involved Jessica and tried to inject humour using Jessica where she could. Amy completed her 6-year writing stint for the Sweet Valley High series in the late 80s and then went on to focus on her career as an academic. Today, she's a professor at Boston University. Another writer for the Sweet Valley universe is Katherine Heiny. Let me know in the comments if I'm not saying that name correctly. Katherine wrote for the series in the 90s, but unlike Amy, she was already an established ghostwriter who had written for the Babysitters Club and the Making Out series. Katherine started her career as a ghostwriter by having published articles in teen magazines such as 17 and Sassy. After her stories were published, 17th Street Productions, which is now called Alloy Entertainment, got in touch with her and asked her if she wanted to be a young adult writer. Katherine's first book for the series was Nowhere to Run, book number 25. Like Amy, Katherine was required to write a sample chapter before she was given a writing contract. In a recent interview, Katherine had mentioned in the 90s, you were kind of looked down upon if you were a young adult writer, and it wasn't taken very seriously despite the popularity of the series. Amy worked for the Sweet Valley High series for 4 years and wrote 25 books in that time frame. Thanks